Hello, and welcome to So You Think You Can Rule Persia, the podcast where we rate and review all the kings of Persia from Diocles to Yazdagur III. I'm Serial, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Umberto, and my pronouns are he, him. So hello everybody, and welcome to our episode 40 for Orodes I.
Also, happy anniversary of making this podcast, Umbi.
Yay!
We missed it. I think it was technically last episode, more towards like the 1 year mark, but I do not really know how to process this. So I will just, I'll say it, and then at some point,
for a whole entire year.
At some point it will dawn on me. Unbelievable.
Yes. And we are getting close to like halfway. We're not very far from halfway, which is impressive.
Oh my goodness.
I'm amazed that we've gotten that far, but hooray! Look at us almost shifting the calendar into the single digits and then double digits and triple digits again. It's very fun that we can get this far. And thank you all to the lovely listeners who have been following along so far, and which make this not us shouting into the void, but shouting into all of your ears while you're, commuting, doing the washing up, whatever it is you do while you listen. But yeah, so thank you very much, and we can presumably look forward to at least another year and then change depending on how things go. We'll see. But let's get to today's episode, Orodes. So, we are still in the Dark Age of, oh no, where are the sources? What have you done with the sources? Why are there no sources?
When are we getting out of this? It's just so sad to go through these parts of history and just, have absolutely nothing to go off of.
Yeah. We have some pretty coins.
I have to say, you do an incredibly wonderful job of still weaving it into an interesting story so we can actually have a podcast about it.
Try our best.
But
yes, there are several kings where it's complicated.
The speculation is killing me.
Yeah. But I think this is the deepest part of the Dark Age, and then we're just slowly clawing our way back into the source enlightened area.
Okay.
So
there's hope.
You can look forward to rock bottom today, I guess. Hooray. But no, it's interesting.
Let's say it's the solstice, and from now on, everything will be a little bit brighter.
Yes, it's the solstice. Eat some nice traditional foods. Have fun, be warm inside, and warm yourself at the fire. And then the sun will come out, and then we get to kick some Roman butt.
Oh my god, I can't wait for that. But this is a terrible, mind fantasy thing to bring up right now, where it's so incredibly warm here, at least where I am. I don't want to think about being cozy in blankets in winter. I want to think of being in a pool of ice. Damn.
Well, solstices are cold. But anyway, let's quickly recap what happened last time with Gotarzes I. Because things happened. Not many things, but certain things. So if you remember, what happened last time is that Gotarzes succeeded from Mithridates II. The empire was a bit shaky. In the east, there was a usurper called Sinatrukes, who was, not really winning, but not really defeated anyway. He was just standing by. He was allied with some nomads. They made him a nice hat, that sort of thing. In the west, there was another guy called Mithridates III who rebelled, but Gotarzes managed to defeat him. And the most notable presence in the west was Tigranes the Great, who basically took Armenia, made it independent, and chomped bits of the Western Empire of Parthia. And Gotarzes just sort of tried to hold everything together, but didn't really manage to do too much in terms of bettering the empire. And then, we get all the way to Orodes I, today's episode. So, who is he? Well, he was either the son or brother of Gotarzes, which means that he's either the legitimate heir or some other guy who, wait, why are you in charge now?
Right.
Yeah. And the two options sort of fit into how Gotarzes' reign ended. Because if you remember, we said that there were coins in Babylon from both Orodes and Gotarzes at pretty much the same time. So that could be two things. Either it was like what we said happened with Gotarzes and Mithridates, where Gotarzes appointed his son as heir, and they ruled together for a year or so, and then Gotarzes died. And this is the most likely case if we are assuming Orodes is his son. Otherwise, it could be that instead they had this civil war, where Orodes tried to take control from Gotarzes, and Babylon switched back and forth until Orodes finally killed Gotarzes. And this is more likely in the case that they were brothers, and maybe, there wasn't a clean line of succession for Orodes to get to the throne, so we had to make do with stabbing your brother. So, Sarah, what's your favorite?
Well, we already had a very similar discussion regarding...
Yeah, Mithridates and Gotarzes.
Yeah, regarding Gotarzes, and did he overthrow his father, or did his father just, appoint him co-king and then eventually, as heir, and so you have a smooth transition, which made more sense for, the kind of leading and the kind of reigning that Mithridates was doing, right?
Right.
About Gotarzes and his brother, I don't know what kind of people they were. Gotarzes had some trouble keeping the empire as well as his father had left it, right? It wasn't terrible, but
Yeah, also he had a minimum of 2 usurpers during his reign, so...
Also,
meh.
Is this only because we find coins with their same portrait, at the same time? I don't...
Yeah. That's it. That's the only,
I don't know,
only clue we have.
I'm also a bit biased because obviously we focused only on Gotarzes last episode. So I'm I don't know what his brother was doing. I haven't heard of him. So why would we suppose he was king at the same time? But maybe he was doing important stuff.
Yeah.
At the same time. I don't know. If he did have usurpers, maybe I guess I would be did people support his brother? Because also Gotarzes just died in a very weird... can you remind me what happened?
He just disappears from the sources. He just died at some point. He wasn't terribly old. It wasn't like he died in his 70s. He died somewhere in, what is it? Well, it's either 40s or 60s, depending on who you trust.
Yeah.
So it could be a natural death.
We also didn't know.
Who knows? Could also be just he fell off his horse like Seleucus II.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's what I was thinking of. I don't know, because then he would have had some battles with his brother, right? He had other usurpers, so why wouldn't his brother have?
I mean, maybe he
taken
did,
advantage
but,
of this, weakness.
Yeah, maybe there was one battle where he just got ambushed and killed, and that's it.
You're telling me to choose, and I'm trying to make an informed decision, but there's nothing. There's literally no what. Going off of
two
what?
Pretty coins and context.
I'll say he didn't manage to keep everything as orderly as he could have because he was dealing with his brother rebelling. I don't know.
Fair.
Let's add that to the pile of usurpations.
Extra version to discuss amongst. But yeah, so apparently the version we've gone with is Orodes is actually the brother of Gotarzes and overthrew him, becoming king in late 81 and occupying Babylon in April of 80.
If we're making our own history, you can as well go with a gladiator storyline of
yes.
Gotarzes had been appointed heir, but then Mithridates at the last moment was actually, your brother, I expect you to take over. I don't know. That also would make no sense because that was a stupid decision from Marcus and Antonius.
Aurelius. Yes.
Aurelius. I always mess them up. Marcus Aurelius. Who would do that?
Yeah,
to just
it's a good movie. So, yeah.
It's a great movie, very Hollywood, but
But yeah, so Orodes made his way through gladiatorial fields to arrive. Finally, kill his brother.
Yep.
Hooray, he's king.
Of course.
Done.
Why not?
So, good to know. And, well, I didn't actually mention, there's one extra thing that we have from Orodes when he's a prince. Because, maybe again, because we don't have the name. If you remember, Mithridates II had a big sculpture of himself and some courtiers next to the one of Darius the Great.
Hmm.
And essentially one of these figures is next to Gotarzes and is assumed to be Orodes by certain scholars, but the the writing for the name has eroded off, so that's gone and we have nothing. But some people have assumed that, oh, this was Gotarzes saying, look, here's my heir. He's Orodes. Look at him. But it could just be a random noble who was helpful at the time. But yeah. So let's move out of the mists of not knowing what's going on into what's happening to our west, because there is chaos everywhere. So much chaos, Serial. There is, stuff going on.
Oh.
Because, well, as you can assume, Rome had entered the Eastern Theater, and this is messing everything up for everyone. Because Rome first arrived into Asia in 133, when the king of Pergamon, who was aged and dying, made the decision of just giving his kingdom to the Romans in his will.
Why would you do this?
His reasoning was, the Romans are going to take it anyway, I might as well save my people from war.
Fair. Actually, fair.
That didn't stop war, because the king's, I can't remember if son or brother, but a relative of the king then started a war against the Romans, saying, no, we don't want the Romans here, let us be ourselves in peace. And they were crushed.
Turns out, war bad.
Yes. So now Rome is in Anatolia, and in Anatolia, they're basically taking the place that the Seleucids had, contacting and patronizing the many different Anatolian kingdoms that were in the area. But being Romans, of course, they did not really treat them as equals. They treated them as inferiors and saying, oh yes, we'll grant you an audience if you're good. We'll take care of you if you follow our rules. That whole Roman imperialist thing.
I don't like the Romans. Turns out...
Yes.
Huh?
Well, you might like our next character, who incidentally is going to be our next Patreon special in... Ooh. We haven't decided the order yet, but he's going to be in the new series. A man called Mithridates the Sixth, or Mithridates the Great of Pontus.
Oh, yeah, fun.
Because he has decided that he is going to break the Romans and kick them out of Asia and make sure that Anatolia is at least controlled by people who are from Anatolia and not a distant, far-off empire. So Mithridates declared war on the Romans by deposing some of their client kings and began what is called the First Mithridatic War after him. So it started really well for him because most of Anatolia just said, yes, please, we would like to join your empire, thank you very much, we don't like the Romans. And also, he had a terrible, terrible plot, which is very effective but also extremely brutal, of, in one night, organizing to kill every Roman in Asia.
Excuse me, what?
Everyone. Every single Roman was killed.
I know that I just said that I don't like the Romans. But,
Yeah.
I also do not like genocide.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't like the Romans.
That will put a blemish on
you.
Yes, fighting genocide with genocide is a questionable choice. But hey.
No, hey, nothing. Wrong.
Mithridates is a complicated person. He does a lot of wrong things. That's kind of his brand. But, hey.
Damn. Maybe we will do this episode after all. Because now I'm like, what the heck?
Yes. And then after this, Mithridates launched an invasion of Greece, presenting himself as the liberator of the Greek people against Roman oppression. Although it's interesting to note that Mithridates displayed himself as both the heir to Alexander the Great and the heir of the Achaemenids, because he did sort of have family ties in both directions, which is interesting because he just uses whichever version suits him best whenever he's around.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. But a mixture of Mithridates' poor handling of Greek politics, because the Greek city-states hate each other more than anything else, and so that makes things complicated. And then the Romans invading under Sulla, after he'd done the whole coup against Marius, making himself consul because screw you, I'm in charge.
Some more politics.
Yeah, Mithridates was forced to retreat back to his kingdom and be defeated. But then he decided that what he didn't have the first time was help. He needed allies, he needed to assemble people to help kick Roman butt. So he gathered support from the Cilician pirates, which are basically in the southern coast of Anatolia, and at this very moment have kidnapped Julius Caesar and are holding him for ransom.
Oh,
So that's going on right now.
cool. How did that go for them?
They were all crucified.
Ah, right. Very Roman.
But he did ask them to raise the ransom for him because he thought he was worth more than what they were asking. So that's very Caesar of him.
Julius Caesar, everybody. Turns out, not a good man when you get down to it. It's all about the framing and the, marketing.
Oh, yeah. Augustus is worse, though. We'll get to him when we get to him.
I did not say he was better.
But yeah, so Mithridates gathers support from the Cilician pirates. He sponsors his own Ptolemy for the Egyptian throne. Then he writes letters all around. He writes one to Tigranes the Great of Armenia. Oh, look, another Patreon extra.
We are so good with the plugs this episode. Yes. Look at us go. Professional podcasters.
And he contacts Tigranes and says, hey, listen, you've eclipsed Parthia outside of Mesopotamia. How about you help me kick out the Romans and we can split Anatolia between us? How's that sound?
This always works out.
Yes, sounds good. Tigranes at the time was busy going through Syria and deporting 300,000 citizens to his new capital because cities need people and he didn't have them in the place.
Love uprooting people whose entire lives for generations have been in one place and being like, you live here now. That, it doesn't cause trauma at all to a culture. That's fine.
No.
We love that.
It's cool.
Please note the sarcasm. Oh my god.
Yes. I mean, they were also living around Antioch, so presumably the 57th consecutive Seleucid Civil War wasn't too easy to live through either, but you'd rather have a choice in moving, wouldn't you? But Mithridates also sent a letter to our Orodes, our protagonist. Remember him? We mentioned him at the beginning of the episode. And Orodes appears to have not sent a reply back to Mithridates because, what's this row? We've never met a Roman. They're far away. Frankly, I don't
never
care what's
heard of
going
them.
On. Yeah, they're like a weird tribe from the west. Sure, whatever. You have fun, Mithridates.
Damn.
Well, what was Orodes doing? He had two things to concern him. First of all, he was fighting with the vassal kingdom of Elymais. In 77, they were rebelling, so he decided to just have a little invasion to put them in their place. And it seems to have worked. They backed down and decided that, yes, no, we're not becoming independent because we're surrounded by Parthian territory. This isn't going to happen. But the most serious problem was Sinatruches. Remember him? He was the son of Mithridates I of Parthia, and essentially the cousin of Mithridates II. So he's an old man by this point. He's in his 70s or 80s by now. But Sinatruches had been in rebellion since the start of Gotarzes' reign. So he had been in rebellion for a good 15 years or so, thereabouts.
You get good at rebellions when you do that.
Yeah. But it seems that at this point, he had managed to gather an extremely large army of nomads from the steppe and Sakistan, where his main power base was. And he had declared war on Orodes and was coming for Mesopotamia to reclaim the throne that he believed was his. So, in the year 76, Sinatruches gathered this large army, and we don't have many details, but we know that he marched on Mesopotamia, captured Orodes, killed him, and made himself king.
Well.
So, this is the end of the dynasty descended from Mithridates II.
No!
Because we now jump back to the dynasty of Mithridates I.
What the we had the incredible Mithridates, and it's okay, whoops, sorry, yeah. It turns out it was not in the genes, everybody.
No, it was preparation, not blood.
I want to cry.
But I told you, Sinatruches has a good hat, so you can look forward to that next episode.
I mean, yay, I guess.
I mean, what do you want more than good hats? There is nothing more sweet than good hat. But yeah, so, Serial, are you ready to rate this man?
I mean, I guess.
The, like, two things
It's been
we know?
like, what, 15, 20 minutes? Sure.
It's not been very long. No, I really struggled making an episode out of him. It was difficult. But let's
Sorry,
see if he's
everybody.
the worst or second, or if he's better than someone.
I mean, this feels so mean, because also it's like, he could have been awesome, he could have been terrible, we just don't know. So,
I mean, the one war we know he fought, he lost, so how good can he have been, really?
That's fair.
I don't think we will cry for him very much, but let's at least get to dunking on him for a while. Okay, so let's begin to rate him. Our first category is final moments. How interesting was his death of presumably being killed by his distant cousin? His second cousin twice removed, I think it is. I don't know if it deserves a 1 because it's... No, it doesn't deserve a 1, it's a 0. Because, like, we don't have the detail that he was killed, we just have the detail that he disappears from history. So...
Yeah, we don't even know if, like, this was the thing that did it.
Oh yeah, he might have just gotten a really bad cold one day and then just dropped dead. We honestly do not know.
It isn't like, oh, he went off to this battle, never heard from again, right?
No, it's just, oh look, the coins changed. Weird.
Like, even if we didn't have the details, at least if he had just gone into like some kind of campaign, we would be like, yeah, probably didn't make it back, huh?
Yeah, I mean, since it was a distant member of the family, it's likely that it was a death by civil war, but the fact that we don't really know pulls me down to a 0. How about you?
Yeah, I can't. I was trying to be like, well, maybe, but like, I can't really justify it. Sorry, we don't know enough.
And I think probably Parthian historians didn't know much about him either, so there we go. So, with a 0 and a 0, we get a 0 out of 10 for final moments. Our next category is battle hardness. How good was he at war and fighting?
Bad, he lost.
Although I was a bit too harsh last time, like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, excuse me?
Because basically, if we agree that he did start a civil war against his father, or brother, as the case may be, as you said at the beginning, then he did win that war.
Yeah, but Umberto, I made that up. I don't know if that happened.
One thing that we know he succeeded in was winning a war against the kingdom of Elymais that was a vassal. He got them back into vassalship status. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, so you were being mean just for being mean before.
Yeah. But then he lost the civil war with his distant cousin and lost everything. So I'm floating between a 1 and a 2, and I feel like I'm being generous, no matter what I choose.
I will go for a 1.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So I think a 1 is the best choice, because otherwise, no, what the hell. So with a 1 and a 1, we get a 2 out of 20 for battle hardness. Next category is scheminess. How good was he at plots and manipulations? Again, if he overthrew his father/brother...
That wasn't even plotting, that
bit.
would have been battle, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, maybe.
I mean, that's the point. We don't know. Yeah, I mean, we have no proof that he did something schemy. I feel like that is a 0 if I've ever heard one. That's kind of it. So, yeah, I'm going to go with a 0.
Yeah,
how about you?
Same.
Okay. So 0 and a 0 gives us a 0 out of 20 for scheminess. Next category is shock factor. How shocking was this man? Not especially. He had a coin at the same time as another man. Is that shocking? Is that scandalous? Is it too close for your Victorian sensibilities? I don't know. But yeah, there's no real shock to speak of here. So I'm going to go with a 0. And I guess you're matching.
Same.
So 0 and a 0, 0 out of 20 for shock factor. Our next category is Aaron Shine. How good was he for the Empire in general and Iran in particular? On the upside, he helped get Elymais back into the fold, which is good, I guess, for the Empire. On the downside, he ignored calls for help against Rome, which, if he'd helped, who knows how things might have gone. And also, the worst thing is that he is the death of his part of the family.
Yeah, that sucks.
And he loses civil war to a distant cousin, from whom all the next Parthian kings will be descended.
I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily bad. It's just your father would be so disappointed. And I don't know, maybe these new people coming into the Empire are actually going to be better for the Empire. So,
I mean, they have an interesting relationship with the Sakas, which is, cool. And hey, it's always nice to have multiple ideas. But yeah, Orodes, for his side, I think that he is not destroying the Empire, but he is doing nothing to really help. Yeah. I think I'm going to aim for a 2.
I will trust you in that, then.
Yeah, because he's,
It didn't hurt it, but
he contributed very little, and he lost the civil war, and that's always destabilizing.
Yeah, of course.
So I think a 2 is fair. Yeah, so with a 2 and a 2, that gives him a 4 out of 20 for Aaron Shine. Our next category is Face of Faces. What do you think this man looked like?
Well, I do not have that many thoughts. So
yes.
I'm gonna need a moment. Alright.
Let me see.
Portrait has been uploaded. I feel like in this one you can just see my absolute I give up. I am so done with the dark ages of information.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore what to do.
Yes, I agree. It is complicated to get everything together, but if we're getting there, don't worry. The next one is better than this one. This was the worst so far. But let me pick up Serial's drawing. Okay, so here we are. Now, good. So, Serial has drawn a silhouetted figure with a prominent robe, beard, and nice jeweled tiara, as we've been seeing so far.
Yeah, the things that I know about. Because,
Yes. And to the left, we have a speech bubble saying, "Help us with Rome?" And Orodes just saying, "No." And then in the bottom right corner, there are question marks saying, "Honestly, I don't even know at this point." Which I assume is the author's note.
Yeah.
Yes, fair. So, thank you, Serial, for that Orodes, which is more information on Orodes than anybody has had historically. And listeners, if you want to see it, go as usual on our website, which is linked in the description of the episode. And now let me show Serial what Orodes actually look like.
Because we know for some reason.
Yes, the one thing we have is coins. So here he is. What do you think?
Honestly, he looks like a kind man. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he seems nice.
Yeah, it might be the propaganda, but he has a kind face. It's a coin with a profile to the left, looking to the left. We see the jeweled tiara, which is really cute. It still has this sun or flower on the side, and it covers the ears, and it goes back on the back of the head. The beard is shorter than I drew it. More of a rounder beard with little curls. It's very cute.
It's a nice beard.
And slightly curved down nose. And I don't know. He has a kind expression. I think it's just because of how the eyebrows and the eyes are.
Yeah, he seems nice. And his nose is reduced from the previous generations.
Yeah.
Although I also like his earring. It's just popping out there. It's oh, hello, earring. So that's neat. And yeah, I think Orodes looks more impressive than he is.
Yeah.
I like him. If I saw him, I'd be like, "Hey, do you want to grab a beer?" He seems approachable. So what were you thinking in score-wise?
I don't know. I'm not that impressed. Because
Why are you not? I like his kind face.
I like that, yeah.
I was going to go for a 6 for the kind face.
Honestly, yeah, that seems fair. I'll go for a 6 as well.
Nice. So congratulations, Orodes. That's not your That's not your most impressive score, but it is up there.
Or is it? Has to check notes.
Yes. So with a 6 and a 6, that gives us a 3 out of 5 for Face of Faces. Our next category is lengthiness. How long do you think this man ruled with no sources?
God, I don't know. It could be anything from like 2 years to 20 with no sources, but I'm going to say 5 years.
5 years is very, very close, actually, because it was 4 years.
I keep getting this right. What is happening?
Best skill. He ruled from 80 to 76 BC, ruling a grand total of 4 years. Divided by 10, that gives us a 0.4 out of 5 for lengthiness. And that takes us to the final score, which is to say a 9.4 out of 100, which places him firmly between Seleucus III, about which we had nothing to say, and Vadferdad I, about which we had nothing to say. So he's in his league. Congratulations, Orodes. You are placed between the people of whom we know very little.
Yeah, it tends to go that way if you have no sources.
Yeah, not great. But hey. But leads us to the final question. Is he unsourced enough, mysterious enough, shady enough to be a Shahanshah, or is he just a Shahanah?
Like, unless you're Bardia...
Yeah, but Bardia had a story. He was like a dude.
Which I can't remember if we gave him Shahanshah.
We did not give him Shahanshah.
But like, maybe we should, since we're still talking about him.
He is memorable. I guess when we get to the end, we can round off any odd numbers with a...
We can see.
Pick up again. But, yeah. So, yeah, sorry, Orodes. Your main contribution to history is being the first Orodes to the second Orodes, which is more interesting than you.
It happens.
So, look forward to that in a few episodes. Orodes II, much better. So, yeah, that leads us to the end of this episode. We would like to thank a couple of new Patreons that joined since last time. Patrons who joined since last time. Which are Elspeth Olsen and A Ninja. So if you want to join them and hear the extra episodes that are coming soon, then please go to patreon.com/so you think you can roll Persia, all one word, or follow the link in our description. And if you don't want to support us monetarily, you can also just write a review or rate us in your podcast app of choice. It takes a second and it lets other people know that we exist and spread the news. But yeah, so that's all for today. We hope you'll join us next time for Sinatrukis. I promised a good hat. You'll be getting a good hat. If for nothing else, join for the hat. And we hope you have a nice week, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody. Bye.